All right, whenever you're ready.
Today I'm taking you through North Carolina's Conservation Project, an initiative aimed at preserving natural biodiversities and resources at our state. This project is showing needed attention towards pressuring environmental issues facing North Carolina, including habitat loss, pollution, and impacts of climate change. Today I'll be going over the Conservation Project itself, why it's not known, the gap in my research, and findings and results. The definition of Conservation Project itself is programs used by environmental organizations to protect wildlife and endangered species, according to Cindy Riley, who takes over media and websites for New York Times. My research question was, how does North Carolina Zoo collaborate with other institutions and organizations on research and conservation projects? My background talks about North Carolina Zoo. North Carolina Zoo has a conservation project about wildlife and protecting ecosystems by actively participating in the field conservation research and education. The zoo is mostly responsible for natural habitats, ensuring ecosystems remain healthy and sustainable practices, which is just another saying for recycling and habitat-friendly landscaping. Why not make it known? The North Carolina Zoo has not made this project known throughout the years. As I did a study, I asked 30 people if they knew about the conservation project itself. 4 out of 30 people answered yes. Many did not know or what it was heard about, knowing that North Carolina is in our state. Why North Carolina? North Carolina is a diverse ecosystems as it includes mountains, forests, wetlands, and coastal regions. It has a wide variety of species, however, these ecosystems are under threat from development, pollution, and climate change. North Carolina has diverse ecosystems. It has 17 to be exact, making it one of the most ecologically diverse regions in the United States. It also has more than 17 species of concern, including a red woodpecker and the eastern cougar. Wetlands, beaches, and rivers are being crucial habitats for wildlife, but many are being destroyed, according to Frank Gratt, who talks about the North Carolina Zoo expansion on nczoo.org. Gap in my research. Role in global impact. By having the role in our global impact, it shows how much people do not know about exactly the conservation project itself. Many people go to the North Carolina Zoo and come out not knowing the exact information or how they can protect our zoo. And habitat restoration. By having habitat restoration, it destroys ecosystems so that the wildlife can feed and reproduce in a healthy and natural environment again. Findings and results. My key findings were protecting areas and reservoirs, creating and expanding state parks, wildlife refuges, and natural reservoirs to protect critical habitats. And public education, engaging the public through outreach education programs and volunteering opportunities to help build support for our conservation efforts. This also includes conservation projects that many people do not know about, including wildlife NGOs. NGO stands for non-government organizations. This organization is critical to protect wildlife, conserve habitats, and promote sustainability. They work independently or in partnership with the government, local communities to address various information and conservation issues, according to wildlife.org, which is the main website for this organization. USFWS, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, a federal agency that works to protect and conserve the nation's wildlife and their habitat. This service is known to show areas in the North Carolina Zoo that could protect wildlife habitats and biodiversities. AZA, an association of zoo and aquariums, an organization in the U.S. that represents a network of zoos and aquariums. Their primary mission is to promote the conservation of wildlife and natural habitats through different ways of education, research, and ethical animal care. And education. This shows that while at the North Carolina Zoo, people do not know or are not educated about the conservation project, while at the zoo, you should be educated about what you are learning and the different programs. They should exactly show and educate their visitors on exactly what animals they are seeing and how they can help them stay alive. They can help them by educating the visitors by showing them red wolves, African elephants, and gorillas. The red wolves play a crucial role in the red wolf recovery program that the North Carolina Zoo has, working to reintroduce and monitor this endangered species in North Carolina. African elephants. The zoo supports anti-poaching and habitat protection programs in Africa. And last but not least, gorillas. To extend Central Africa, where the zoo works to protect great apes, it also has habitat destruction and illegal wildlife trade, according to NorthCarolinaZoo.org. In public education. Conservation efforts are often linked to history and societal change. Educators can connect the history of North Carolina's land use and environmental policy to present day issues, making conservation a curricular topic. Incorporating outdoor learning. Field trips to natural sites. Schools could organize trips to local natural reservoirs that national parks or wildlife refuges in North Carolina, such as the Great Smoky Mountain and national parks. This trip can allow students to experience firsthand the importance of conservation and see its impact. We could include a STEAM project, encouraging students with projects that incorporate conservation themes using STEM. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Subjects, for instance, students could design solutions to local environment issues, such as reducing waste or protecting wildlife corridors, using technology or engineering. Increasing education itself using science and environmental education. Working with educators to weave conservation topics into existing science curriculum. For example, studies on ecosystem, biodiversity, and sustainability could be included into conservation themes. Teachers could use real-world examples such as local wildlife species of the states, using our unique ecosystems to help bring the concept to life. Implications and limitations. Funding projects for children. To sponsor funding for children's zoos conservation projects, starting by identifying zoos or wildlife organizations with educational programs. Focusing on conservation for children, reaching out on these institutions to explore specific needs for financial support, such as funding for field trips, educational workshops, or animal care. And people conforming. People have a lack of awareness, and many do not understand the importance of conservation or how it impacts children's education and the environment itself. Without a clear connection between the cause and outcome, they may not see the value in contributing. Limitations. My goals for this study was to protect endangered species and preserving diverse habitats to maintain ecological balance, and using sustainable land use, promoting responsible land use policies and practices to prevent further habitat destruction, also including restoration of ecosystems, revitalizing degrading ecosystems, reforestation, wetlands restoration, and other methods to improve ecological health. Also climate change. Implementing strategies that reduce the impacts of climate change on the state's ecosystems and communities. Increasing knowledge about the North Carolina Zoo Conservation for Children focuses on an educational campaign that can use towards engaging materials like brochures, videos, and social media to boost awareness. Partnering with schools to organize interactive field trips or workshops. One way I remember at the zoo is pollution and ecosystem services. This was shown through butterflies. Butterflies are a key pollinator for many plants, including a variety of wildflowers and agricultural crops. In fact, many plants rely on butterflies to pollinate them, which helps maintain the health of ecological ecosystems and support biodiversity. Modern butterflies, for instance, play a critical role in pollinating milkweed, which turns to support in other species that rely on caterpillars and beetles, according to the North Carolina Zoo. Also, butterflies have an ecological importance diversity value. As a role as indicator species, conservation efforts in the North Carolina that focus on butterflies often overlap with broader ecosystem health goals such as maintaining diverse habitats, promoting pollination, and ensuring the protection of endangered species. And expanding areas. To help expand areas in the North Carolina Zoo without hurting the ecosystem, creating wildlife corridors. By creating the wildlife corridors that connect existing protected areas, national parks, wildlife refuges, and state parks. These corridors allow animals to move freely between, which is especially important for species that need large territories or have a seasonal migration. And for my conclusion, Zoo Conservation Project plays an important role in protecting endangered species and preserving biodiversity. By providing a safe environment for animals, participating in breeding programs, and educating the public, while changes remain in the collaborative work between zoos, scientists, and future home of many species. Continued support and innovative and zoo conservation efforts are essential to ensure that the future and generations can be experienced and learn from the incredible diversity of wildlife. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Groves is going to ask you your first question. How did your initial exploration of the scholarly conversation lead to your final research question and project goal?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah. How did your initial exploration of the scholarly conversation lead to your final research question and project goal?
By doing this, I asked myself how saving the world and how I could save animals itself. And having the zoo so close to us, being in Asheville, you really do see how much of an impact it can make. So by doing more research and contacting the North Carolina Zoo Media Board, it kind of helped me just kind of expand my knowledge and see what more I can do to help the world altogether and not just North Carolina itself. So I can do that by recycling, showing other people how much animals matter to us, especially in this world that we live in now with climate change and pollution and everything going on.
How did the limitations of your method or data influence your new understanding?
It showed me more education. I didn't know that much about the zoo. I go to the zoo all the time, but I've never known about the conservation project itself. So when I was aware of it, it was more like an eye-opener of exactly what recycling can do or how it can help our world. And I just think that's really important as we need to take care of the world we live in. So I feared that that's my main goal for my project and my study that I did.
Thank you.
If you could revisit your research process, what would you do differently and why?
I would speak more on the topic of recycling. I feel like my study was more on animals and how it can help students just more with their education. But I feel like recycling does have a big part in the world and the climate and everything all together. So I feel like if I did topic on recycling, it could just show children how much just throwing a piece of trash in a different trash can could just impact the world altogether, because little steps do make a long way.
All right.